are at Roots to Fruit HQ, headquarters, in our school's garden. We have our allotments, our raised pallet bed allotments. We've prepared the ground already, and you've seen that in the previous video. We're just going to finish it off. I'm going to show you how to get ready for planting. So make sure you get the last of those weeds out, shake all of that soil off. So we've got the last few weeds that are over here. Making sure that we shake the soil off, get rid of any sort of bits of grass, other weeds that are in there. And what we're going to do is we're going to give it one final quick rake over, and then it will be ready to put what we call our additives in. Now the additives are in a dry form, this is how we're going to put them in. And these are called fertilizers. So it's not like compost, but it's a fertilizer, or we're adding minerals and things to the soil to help the plants to grow strong and effectively. So in the ingredients that we have, the first thing is a cup of lime. For a square metre, which is what this pallet collar is, it's going to be 1 cup. And that goes in there, and you shake it and try and get an even amount. The lime is what helps the plants take up the nutrients effectively out of the soil and turn sunlight into food. And while I'm spreading these, Nathan's going to come along, and what I want you to do, Nathan, is I want you to make that disappear and spread it out evenly just by going over the surface. And while Nathan's doing that, the next one is wood ash. So we put the lime in, which help things like clubroot as well on cabbages. The next thing is wood ash, and this will help fruit and flowers to form, and it also helps the plants to put on really, really strong growth. So the wood ash is going in all around that, not coal ash, because the coal ash will increase the acidity and cancel out what you've been doing with the lime. Again, make it all nice and even and spread it out. And then, so those are the sort of the 2 things that we add to the soil to help the plants to improve growth, etc. And the next one is a type of fertilizer. This is a concentrated form of nitrogen, phosphorus and potash. And what I have here is high in nitrogen. It's chicken manure, it's dried. And what I'm going to do is spread that evenly all over. You can buy it as a powder, as fish blood and bone as well, and that will slowly release food to the plants over time. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to help Nathan to get that roughly raked level, and then we're ready to then start planting. So make sure the surface again is even. Make sure that you've got that nice breadcrumb tilth that's there. Nathan's getting the last few weeds out there. That's brilliant, Nathan. Excellent, well done. We can give ourselves a pat on the back for doing that. So what we're then going to look at doing is planting. And now there's 2 forms of plants. The first one I'm going to show you is all about plugs. And these are containerised plants. And when you look at containerised plants, you see very often, like these ones, these are called plugs because they're in very, very small containers that aren't like pots. And what you're looking for is there a little white root that's coming out the bottom? Once you know that white root is coming out of there, you know that that plant is ready to plant out. And generally speaking, to get the plant out, you give it a bit of a squeeze and out it comes. And there it is. Lovely root system on there, it's taken the shape, but it's not so root bound that it's going to end up staying that shape within the ground. So those are how your plug plants work. And generally speaking, what you're doing with this is you might want to take a straight line, a straight marker as you're doing it on the soil or on something like this. And what you can do is lay out a line, use your hand like that without your thumb, measure it out roughly there like that, and then you can take your finger and that will create a nice line that's there. So once that line is there and is in place, you know how far to plant them apart, what your row is going to be like. And so what you're looking at is getting a trowel. We use plastic ones. Starting in, again, thumb off, dig a hole, take out your plant, pop it in, press it down. Put your next hand in, on the line, dig a hole, squeeze out the plant, that one's really rooted. Look at that one there. Pop it in and just gently press and consolidate around each plant. Again, you can do that. If there are plants that need more space, you want to give them more space. This one is quite intense, so we're going to put them close together. You can use a trowel as a distance for measuring the distance. You don't have to use the handle as well. You can use just that one there, which is very similar to a hand. Take it out. Pop it in. And we know we've done a really great job from the last time, because look what we've got here. A wiggle wiggle little worm. Now, if you haven't got those dry ingredients, what you can do when you plant it is, if you've got some of that compost that we've given you, when you dig the hole, so you measure it, dig the hole, if you've got some of that compost that we've given you in that grow bag, when you put it in, instead of using the soil you've just dug out, use that compost to put around it. And it's soil-based compost, which means it's getting the plant ready for outdoor soil conditions. That's the great thing about our type of compost that we use at Oak Dean Nurseries. It's soil-based or loam-based, which means that it has, the plant's been growing in soil, it's used to soil, and then when you mix the compost in with the soil, the roots go, oh, I'm used to this, I know what this is all about. This is what I had back at the nursery, and I'm used to it. And it's like a baby that's been weaned. That's why nurseries are called nurseries, because you're weaning plants from the outside, from the inside to the outside, off compost and into the soil. And so it's that whole thing. You wouldn't give a baby steak when you're weaning it. You gently get it onto off milk and onto solids. And that's how our compost works. And that's basically how we plant up some plug plants. What's left that you might want to do is, you may want to label, if you didn't know what they were, so you can get a label, stick it in. These ones are great labels. You can write them on them with a permanent marker, or you can use a pencil and then rub them off again so they can reusable. So always find the rough side of the label. So we've been planting here, we've been planting sunflowers, and that's when you can put them in there, put the label there, and all that's left now for my colleague Nathan here to do is, he's going to give these plants a really good water. Now, one of the top tips I'm going to give you on this video is, can you see how on the end of a lot of these tools it's got kind of like a nub like that? So you can see that nub. That is really, really great for making a little tiny pit by each plant. So can you see that there? I'll make a pit there, 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 and one more there. And what that means is, what you've created by each plant is a reservoir of water that when you pour the water on there, what you're watching is whether that pit fills up with water. If that little pit fills up with water and then sinks away, you know you've given the plant enough water, and it's a great way of telling how much water the plant has had. So there, Nathan, if you go over there, and if we can film Nathan watering these plants here, you're going to take the blue watering can. Also with your rows, make sure you have the rows the right way up. Just want to show you something. That's the correct way up for a rose. And with this one, you can water straight onto the plants. And Nathan, I want you to see whether you can fill that reservoir up there. Give it a real good, that's it. So we're watching it, we're watching it, we're watching it, we're watching it. And see how it's filling up with water, it's filling up with water, stop, we're on to the next one. And that basically then is how you do the watering. And when you've got small plants like this, we can use this rose, because basically what it does is it protects them and stops them from getting absolutely smashed and hammered about. Okay, so the next thing that I want to talk to you in a second is all about seeds.